All right. Oh, whoops. Camera's on the wrong page. Here we go. Math 76, lessons 34, decimal place value. Hold on. I'm going to take a sip of water before I start because I can already tell I'm about to get tongue-tied. Look at this beautiful number while I take a drink of water. Okay. Refreshing. All right. So we're talking about decimal place value, and I have an example number for you. This number is 463.725. Some of you may read it like that, 463.725. Sometimes I read decimal numbers like that. However, the proper way to read this number is 463 and 725 thousandths. Thousandths. Notice I said thousandths, not thousands. And that's what we're talking about today with decimal place value. So these numbers to the left of the decimal point, we should know their place value already. This is the ones place, this is the tens place, and this is the hundreds place. Notice the comma S here. 100, comma S, 10, comma S, 1, comma S, ones, tens, hundreds. Okay, now when we go to the right of the decimal point, we have different place values. And the first thing, and the key rule here is all these place values, they're not going to end with comma S. They're going to end with THS, right? To show us that they are to the right of the decimal point, not to the left, okay? And the other very distinguishing thing about decimal numbers is we don't start with num. Well, see, I knew I was going to get tongue-tied today. We don't start with 1, we start with 10. So this number 7 is actually in what we call the tenths. Well, let's use a different color just to highlight the difference, make it drastically different, is in the tenths, THS, right? So we don't start with 1, we start with tenths. And the reason why is because each one of these place values is 1/10 of a value of the number 1, right? And that's how all these decimal places are fractioned out. They're based in how big they are compared to the number 1. So this is 7/10, or 7 out of 10 pieces of 1. So it's like if we were to take the number 1, if it were a circle. So this circle represents the number 1. And we were to cut it into 10 pieces. Let's see here, 1, 2, 5, and then another 5. So we've got 10 pieces. We'd be saying each one of these pieces is a tenth, right? And what we're saying here is that we have 7/10, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/10, okay? And that's how that place value works. So that's why we skip immediately to 10 and we don't have a oneths place value, because that would make 0 sense. So we've got the tenths place value. Next, we have the hundredths, THS. And then we have the thousandths, Whoops, I forgot to put my thousand. Thousandths, THS. All right, so these are the place values. And I think right now our book is only going to thousandths. I don't think we go to 10 thousandths or 100 thousandths, but the sequence still continues. You would just add a 0, then add THS. So next one would be 10 thousandths, then 100 thousandths, then millionths, and etc. But these are the decimal place values right here on the right. Okay, and the problems we're going to have are going to be pretty simple. They're just going to ask you to identify digits in particular place values, and then they're going to ask you to find out what place value a particular number has in a number. And so it should be a pretty simple lesson. Let me see. Let's do some quick examples, because this is going to be a very short video if I don't do any of those. Let's ask, let's take this number 12. Okay, so in this number, what place value is the number 5 in? I'll go ahead and give you a second to guess. 5 is in the thousandths, right? And the way we'd write that in words is, let's see here. Go ahead and we'll color coordinate this. This is the thousandths. So we just write the word thousand and then THS, thousandths. So 5 is in the thousandths place value. What about the number 2? Well, the number 2 is in the ones, all right? And then what about the number 3? Well, I'd say the number 3 is in the tenths. All right, so pretty simple. Ooh, they give you a trickier one. let's see here. So this is another practice problem I see in your lesson. They give you this number, and then they ask you what number is in the thousandths place. I'll go ahead and give you a second to guess. So which number is in the thousandths place? Well, if you guessed the number 3, you're wrong. Remember, if we count past, we've got tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So the thousandths place is actually the number 2. Okay? So just remember, place values in decimal numbers, they start at tenths and then they just go up as you go to the right. If you guys have any questions, let me know on the school website, and I will see you in class.